Greetings metalheads, welcome to another edition of the Friday 13th YouTube channel. Today you're going to be watching an interview with a power thrash band from California called Trauma, who have released 3 albums in the past and are about to release their 4th album called Awakening on Massacre Records. It's coming out soon, so check it out. So I'd like to thank Chris, Steve and Brian for the interview, and also Anja from Massacre Records for setting up this interview. Enjoy folks, please share on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and any other social media sites. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the interview, folks. We've got 3 members of Trauma here. We've got Brian, Chris, and
Steve.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing, guys? So thank you and welcome to Friday 13th, all of you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
so
yeah.
I'm going to ask some warm-up questions for Steve and Chris first. So, and also you, Brian. So, as musicians, what instrument came first, and which influences inspired you to play guitars or vocals or drums?
Brian can go first.
Me?
No, this is an instrument question. So drums and guitars.
I don't count.
I'll start. Yeah. So, I actually started on bass originally, because I had a huge influence by, Kiss and Gene Simmons. And I just, wanted to be Gene. But the bands that I played in early on as a teenager, I was a better guitar player than the guitar player in the band. And so I eventually just moved on to playing guitar. And at that point, my biggest influences were, Tony Iommi, Randy Rhoads, guys like that were really influential early on in my guitar playing.
Okay, so what guitar did you first play when you first started to play guitar? Can you remember your first guitar?
My very first guitar, my grandmother gave it to me for Christmas, and it was this blue, horrendous thing that I don't even remember what brand it was. But my first real guitar that I bought as a musician was an original Randy Rhoads. So I still have this guitar. It's one of the very earliest models, very low serial number. And that was my first real guitar, was a Jackson Randy Rhoads. I still have it to this day.
Wow. So how old was you when you picked that to start playing guitar?
Oh, I was 20. I think I was 20, 19. I mean, it was the first real guitar that I ever bought, 19 or 20.
Okay, cool. So, Chris, what about you as a drummer? Who inspired you and what age did you start playing drums?
Well, it was for me, it was my dad. My dad was a big band drummer who worked with a lot of, during those times, a lot of really well-known big bands like Woody Herman and all this. So when I was a kid growing up, we had Count Basie and all kinds of jazz playing in the house all the time. And I used to go to his gigs with him when I was a little kid. So that's kind of how I started. And then, morphed into playing rock and got a, drum set and all that. And pretty much been doing it ever since.
Yeah, I remember you saying to me last night that you play Sona drums. Was that your first kit, Sona, back in the day?
No, my very first drum set was the Ludwig set that I got as a kid. I still have it, actually.
Oh wow, interesting. So Brian, so what about you as a vocalist? Who inspired you to become a vocalist? And was vocals the first thing for you?
Oh no, it was my neighbor that told me I was a shitty guitar player and I was a better singer. It was my friend Martin. Was my neighborhood friend, because I've always been playing guitar since I was a little kid. I started playing like in the 4th grade, and so my people I wanted to aspire to was Vivian Campbell, Jakey Lee, obviously Randy, all the guitar players, Brad Gillis, Jeff Watson. Those are the people I was like, oh my God. Of course I love Dio and the great singers, but as you're a kid, you're thinking, I can't never sound like that. I got a little kid voice, how am I going to sound cool like that? So, I looked at the guitar players like, oh, I could pose with a tennis racket, look all cool. And so as I got older, I was in high school, and Martin's like, you know what, Brian? Because they used to always hear me mimic Dio and Bruce and different singers like that. Yeah, Holy Diver! I'd be like doing stuff like that when I was a kid, but didn't think I sounded cool. And then Martin's like, Brian, I have to be honest, but you're a pretty shitty guitar player. And I'm like going, and it just crushed me. I was like, I'm like, dude, it's just, why don't you just sing for my band? And well, you can sing. I can't sing. I can't do that shit. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I don't want to do that because I was like, I want to hide behind the guitar. I don't want to be David Lee Roth. And so it was just one of those things where it was just kind of like a huge blow to my, because it really did. It really hurt because I wanted to be that guy, and it just never happened. So, I just kind of fiddled with it for a while. And then after the military, I got pretty serious into doing stuff because I would sing cadences in the military, like especially in basic, because the drill sergeants always used to say I had a big voice for a young guy, and so they'd do, all right, Alan, you do some cadence, and I go, all right, drill sergeant, C-130 rolling down the stretch, I'd be like, getting everybody all.
Oh, you know what you sound like right now? You sound like Sam Kinison.
Well, yeah. Whatever, you can shut up. But so I don't know. So that's how it came about, I guess. And then I don't know, just farting around with local stuff, and eventually, Matt McCourt from Wild Dogs threw my name in the hat to Jeff Thorpe from Vicious Rumors, in which Jeff heard about me doing the Malice reunion because I was a huge Malice fan.
Good band.
And I did their 20-year anniversary for whatever reason why James Neal didn't want to do it, and so that's how my name got in the hat and how I got out, how I kind of started getting known. But I still was known in the underground German scene with my old band called Last Empire. That was on underground. I think it's Symphony Underground or something like that.
Yeah, Italian label.
Yeah, and so there was a little buzz about Last Empire, but we never went to Europe. So I just was really lucky because Matt McCourt, threw my name in the hat, and the rest is now I'm with Chris and Steve-O, and
Sorry, I needed some liquid refreshment.
Oh, that's okay. I think we've all got some. So my next question for you is then, so what was the first band all of you was in before Trauma and obviously Brian with your stuff? What was the first band you did professionally?
For me, professionally, it was Heist. Heist was a late 80s hair band out of Marin County, California. And, we had a pretty decent record deal with, a local startup and Mercury Records distribution and some high-end producers. And, the record did okay. I think we were on track for being the next big thing, but it was 1989. And so, the history of that. And that was, for me, the first pro thing that I had.
I've actually heard the band's name, but I don't know what they sounded like. What sort of bands did they sound like?
Well, your typical, LA, San Francisco hair bands, like, not quite Poison, but, Motley Crue, Poison.
You're in a hair band.
Warrant, stuff like that. We wore, spandex and big hair, right? And
kind of a bit like Madam X.
Yeah. We had not quite that glam. So a little more leather and power metal and glam thrash.
I'm gonna have to check them out. To check out the band. That's cool.
It did okay.
Okay, so what about you, Chris? What was your first band that you professionally drummed for?
I've been in so many different bands over the years, man. Some I would really like to not remember, but maybe a band that you had heard of. Maybe not. We put 4 albums out. It was a band called St. Elmo's Fire.
No, I don't think I do know them, believe it or not.
Okay. Well, we put a bunch of albums out over in Europe.
Okay. Which label put those out?
The first one was CBS. Then the second one was a company called Bellafon out of Germany. And then the last 2 were BMG.
Okay.
Yeah, and we did a bunch of touring in the States, quite a lot of touring, but just kind of like what Steve said, it was like towards maybe 1987, 88, and the scene was kind of starting to taper off a little bit. So it was time to move to the next thing.
I guess you guys just timed it just wrong, just at the right place at the wrong time sort of thing.
Well, the thing is you got to remember, I mean, during those days, it was like you had you know, it was like Motley Crue and all those bands started like really in the super early part of the 80s, you know. So if you were in a band and you were pushing it towards, you know, any time after 1985, the scene was kind of starting to change already a little bit, you know. And then all of a sudden it was the 90s, and you know, we all know what happened there. The Seattle scene pretty much took over.
I mean, I'll never forget when I knew it was over. You know, we were on tour. We were in Houston, Texas. You know, and it was '89, and we had a number one single in a city and states, and top 10 in some affiliates, and in a strong German import, and we were on our way. And management called and basically said that the record company was not going to continue tour support or promote the record, and pretty much come home. And it was like that. It was literally they turned the light switch off. And whereas we thought, and in hindsight, of course, we understand the history of it and everything, but it didn't help when that happened. It hurt a little bit. And I literally went 10 years without I wasn't playing in any bands, and I probably went a good 5-6 years not even playing my guitar.
Wow.
I was kind of hurt. Well, we did record another record after that. We did try to still tried to stay relevant, but at that point it was over.
Okay, it's a shame.
It hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine. So the second bands for you guys, what bands did you do after these bands you mentioned? What did you do for the second lot before Trauma?
What got me really back into the scene were some heavy hitters. So I grew up in this town called Dublin, California, and Dublin produced Chuck Billy from Testament, Steve Souza from Exodus, Phil Demo Machine Head, Troy from Tesla. So all these heavy hitters are from my little town, right? And so we did this project called Dublin Death Patrol. I got a phone call from Chuck Billy and said, "Hey, we're doing this pro project. You want to be involved?" And it turned into 2 records and a couple of tours in Europe, and it got me fired back up to play music again. That was 2007, I think it was, and really fired me up to play music again after all those years. And then I think Kurt Fry, who was one of the guitar players in Trauma, played in my band Heist. So he was in the band Heist. He got me hooked up with Trauma with you guys in 2013, I think it was, Chris. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, it really was that connection with these guys from Dublin and these Dublin Death Patrol records that got me back into wanting to play music again.
Oh, so what? Excellent. So what about you, Chris? What do you do before you got Trauma together?
God. Well, I was in a band with Frank Hannon from Tesla for a while. It was a band called Moondog Maine, and we did an album, and a couple of the tracks were in the Billboard charts. And the band went and toured with like Def Leppard and Ted Nugent and bands like that. And then that whole thing kind of slowly dissolved. And then pretty much, I guess there was some years where there wasn't too much happening. And then, I just stayed busy doing a bunch of recording. And I had some band called Mechanism for a little while with Kurt Fry. That was pretty good. But then around 2013 is when Mike Varney did wanted to do a re-release on a Scratch and Scream record. And that's when we decided to try to resurrect this thing from the dead. Right.
Okay. What about you, Brian? What did you do before you got involved with all the other bands you were in?
Before VR or before Trauma or what?
Yeah, before Trauma and VR and stuff. You did your Dark Scars. That's when I saw you in Sheffield, England with Queensrÿche.
Well, Dark Sky Choir was in between Vicious Trimmers and Trauma, and that was like one of those unicorn situations where all these people that we had great financial backing. We had John Moyer from Disturbed that was writing the material with Fred Gorhow, and then and Ira. I brought Ira into the fold when Fred wasn't in the band anymore, and because John Moyer played with us. There's a video out there with John Moyer and I, and that we did together. But then I guess Disturbed kind of got disturbed that John was doing stuff with other bands. So they kind of told him, oh, you can produce and write, but you can't be in videos and pictures and tour with the bands anymore. No. But that was at the time when they were like on a hiatus. So, you got to eat, right? So, that was kind of fun because obviously I got to go out with Queensryche. I got to see you finally. And then, but before VR was obviously Last Empire. And it's funny because people always say, oh, well, you used to be in Malice. Not really. I did one show with Malice, and it even says like on Wikipedia that I was in Malice. I was never in Malice. I did one show, and that was a reunion.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because like James Riviera was in Malice as well, wasn't he, for a short while?
Yeah, James. Yeah, well, James was in it a hell of a lot longer than me. I just did one show because I was like, oh my god, these are childhood. I loved Malice as a kid because I had the first Metal Massacre album with them on it. That's how I knew who Malice was, with Black and Blue, and there's a Metal Massacre 1, Volume 1. So that's pretty much it. I was just pretty much a local musician until Matt McCourt threw my name out there.
Okay, then. So when you look back at your Vicious Room albums, which albums that you recorded with the band is your favourite, and why? Do you have a favourite?
I really like Electric Punishment. There's a song on there called Thirst for a Kill, and we never did it live. And I think it's like one of the coolest songs. Of course, it's because I had a lot of the vocal ideas that I told Jeff, no, let's do it this way. So, of course, one of those things. But I like all of them. I mean, even the Live You to Death record. I mean, Juan is an amazing producer who's doing this new album that we got coming out. Juan Urtiaga, and Jeff is a great prolific writer. He's very talented when it comes to stuff, and he's got his vision, and I don't know, I like all of them. They're all great. Of course, Razorback Killers really put me on the map because of the Murder Ball video. We got really fortunate and got on the Hammerfall tour. That was because I ran into Joachim and Oscar from Hammerfall at the Summer Breeze Festival. It's like, oh my god, it's Hammerfall, because I'm a Hammerfall fan, and they're like, oh my god, we love Vicious Rumors, and because they're a big Jeff Thorpe fan, and so that's how I got them all hooked up together, and they're like, well, just come out on the road with us, it'll be great, and we've got to play in front of people that nobody knew who Vicious Rumors was. So we're playing with all these Hammerfall shows with Amaranth and so we're playing to a totally different crowd, and it really started kind of boosting us up there. It was pretty cool.
Okay, and so my next question is, so the band actually Trauma formed in 1981, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, then, so, I mean, your first album was released back in 1984 called Scratch and Scream. I mean, not many people know this, but Cliff Burton was actually in your band, wasn't he, before he joined Metallica, and it's like, not a lot of people know about your band, or Cliff's old... What was it like working with Cliff back in the day?
I wasn't in, to be perfectly honest with you, I was not in the band when Cliff was in it. I joined after he joined Metallica.
Okay.
I did meet him several different times because he would come to our gigs, and he was a really huge supporter of the band, and he was a really, really cool guy. Yeah.
So did you play on the first album then, Chris, Scratch and Scream? So yeah. How do you see that album as a debut? Was it a cult classic? Because it seems to have been released on Reborn Classic album records and so many bootlegs.
All I can tell you about this is, this was a deal we signed with Mike Varney at Shrapnel Records. Excuse me, and I can remember literally signing the contract of the record deal on the wall of the Stone in San Francisco, not even reading it or anything. And before you knew it, we were in the studio recording this thing. And, we really didn't know, we're a bunch of kids. I think I was 21 when I did it. We had no idea if it was going to grow any legs or not, to be honest. And to hear now that it's considered a cult classic is pretty cool. I think it's really cool. I'm glad a lot of people still like it. You know?
Yeah. So is there any songs off that album that you like and why?
Yeah, you know, if I think back on that record, some of my favorites were like Dale Hell Broke Loose was one, The Warlock.
And you gave me a copy that's got Cliff on that one.
Yeah, there's probably a demo. Yeah, he was with the band when they did a video of that track. You know,
It's a killer song.
and
It's an interesting video.
yeah. Well, the old manager, this guy that I never really met, I think I met him once, hired a couple chicks from Mustang Ranch to be in it. That's who those chicks are. that Donnie's waving the sword and all that. Yeah.
Great.
But yeah.
Very, very cheesy 80s metal.
Yeah, pretty much, man. But there's quite a few tunes off that record that I really like.
I like Scratch and Scream, and I'm really glad that we're playing Scratch and Scream live. I know there was a little bit of pushback. There was a little bit, we want to do a lot of new material, and that's great and everything. But I'm super, super glad that we're doing Scratch and Scream. I really dig that song.
Yeah, I mean, even though those tunes are really, really old, some of them are actually still pretty fun to play. Maybe not all of them, but some of them are really cool.
Okay, I'm going to ask the same question to Steve and Brian. So, the first album, even though you didn't play on it, is there any favourite songs that you like off the first album?
Well, like I said, for sure, Scratch and Scream. And I know we played, what did we play live? We played a number over the years since I've been
in the end.
In the end, really loved playing that one.
Yeah.
Kill for Less. Kill for. Oh yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
Kill for Less is fun, and a lot of it is because I'm a strong backup singer, so I like singing backups to some of these things. They're really fun to sing. And Brian doesn't even know that I sing backups on Scratch and Scream because there is none on the recording, so he's going to get a surprise here in a few days. And I sing backups on Scratch and Scream, bro.
Yeah, you'll think surprise.
So what about you, Brian? Is there any songs off the first album that you particularly like?
The one that Chris just recently sent me was Warlock, and I think that one's just an incredible song. But I more or less I like the Rupture album. I like When I Die, and I think From Here to Hell. What's the name of that record, you guys? From
Rupture of Wrath.
No, the album that was From Here to Hell's on. What's the name of it? My mind's
As the World Dies.
As the World Dies, yeah. I like those albums better. It's probably just because it's better production or better performance that Donnie did. I just think it's killer. I like it. I really like When I Die a lot. It's a very straightforward, just in your face, chugga song, and it just moves and there's a lot of good songs off of From Here to Hell or As the World Dies album. There's one song called Entropy or something like that I really like that they don't do. But
that's a cool song.
Nobody listens to me. But
I love that song. Yeah.
Nobody listens to me when I make a suggestion.
There's no point.
You should play this.
Well, one thing I did want to do, and no disrespect to Donnie, but I would love to hear your voice on Entropy. I really would. I wrote that song, and I would love to hear your voice on.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So the next album, like you say, Rupture of Wrath. I mean, that was recorded in 2015. I mean, how different was the lineup from the first album to the second album? Say, Steve, you must have just come in the band when this album was recorded.
Yeah, it was weird because there was an idea of me coming into the band. There was an idea of me coming in and helping write, maybe co-produce. There were some things that I had some offers to come into the fold at that point, but I was opening a business at that time, and I had to bow out, and so a lot of that record was done. Obviously Kurt Fry wrote most, if not all, of that one. And I sat on the sideline for that. My only connection with that one, and I think my picture is on the record, but I didn't record anything on that. I did go do a European run with the band, a couple shows, because the bass player had a problem with his passport. So that's when I really joined Trauma for the first time, was as a bass player. because they went out in support of this record, and Bro couldn't get a passport, so here I am playing bass for Trauma.
So when you did the European tour, then was the band a 4-piece, one guitarist, you playing bass?
It was.
Okay.
It was a 4-piece with Kurt Fry, my old friend Kurt Fry, playing guitar, who's a phenomenal player, and that's what I really love about the album Rupture of Wrath. Is
and you don't talk about like being in Christina Aguilera's band.
Oh yeah. Kurt's very hooked in with Christina, but I just love the playing, and Kurt is such a great guitar player and a great songwriter. Really made that album come alive.
Okay, then did the album sell well for the band then, Chris? The second album?
Yeah, well, the band was gone for so many years, man. It's like we knew we weren't going to reinvent the wheel in any way. So, yeah, I mean, we got really good reviews off it and stuff like that. It's not really one of my particular favorite records. I wanted it to be a lot heavier, but I think at the time we had to start somewhere. So I think I think that was a good starting point to try to, move forward and, get it to where we are now.
Okay, and then the third album, As the World Dies, how did that sell for the band? Did that sell better?
As far as I know, that all the vinyls sold out really quickly. As far as physical numbers, I really don't know. The Rupture and Wrath record and As the World Dies came out through Pure Steel Records, and they're a little flighty, to say the least.
Hit counting is a little suspect.
Yeah. So, but we did gain some really, really good reviews and really positive response from a lot of people in the business. So, and we did end up getting some pretty decent gigs. We played like 70,000 tons of metal. We did Headbangers Open Air Festival.
Yeah, I love that festival. It's like somebody's back garden. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Some other things I'm kind of forgetting at the moment, but then the lineup changed, and now I think we have the best lineup the band's really has ever had.
Yeah, I mean that last album was the last album that Donnie played on because he died apparently, didn't he? What did he die of, if you don't mind me asking?
He had cancer. Yeah, he didn't know he had it. So by the time he went to the hospital, excuse me, and all that, there wasn't really anything they could do for the poor guy. That's
a shame. Sorry to hear that. Great singer.
And if I can speak on Donnie for a minute, because we've all been around, so many musicians, and we've had dealings, and I think Donnie in particular was the most professional and hardcore soldier that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. There were times when he would be that road trip down south, and he was basically pissing blood, right, and not telling anybody. And he was just a soldier, and never complained, never caused any kind of drama, kind of things like musicians. We're all crazy, right? But he was like the most
not me
even-keeled, level, non-drama soldier I've ever worked with by far. Yeah,
wow.
Such a professional.
Wow, so it must have been hard trying to find a replacement for him.
Well, put it this way, just to back up for a minute. I met Donnie in really like probably 81, 82. He came to an audition. I was playing with these guys in San Francisco in this warehouse, and this guy was totally into Motorhead. So he had all this freaking bass gear, and just like these guys were so freaking loud. It was unbelievable. And Donnie showed up, and that's how I met him. So me and him went pretty far back, and he was like definitely my brother, so when that happened, it was pretty devastating, to say the least, because it pretty much came out of nowhere. I mean, I was literally at one studio getting ready to set up my drums when I got the phone call. that, they weren't sure he was going to make it through the night. So we just called the whole thing off. And then basically we weren't sure if we were going to continue on or not, but our producer, Juan, said, hey, I may have someone that could work for this, and that was Brian. And, thank God. That's all I could say.
Yeah, I think Donnie would probably want you to carry on anyway. He's probably saying to you guys, "Come on, keep the flag burning."
Well, he did when he was still able to speak.
He said that on it. Yes, he said that.
Yeah, he goes, "Hey man, really try to continue on, and I've really taken that to heart, and so have the other guys in the band, but especially
I met Donnie a couple of times before.
Yeah.
I met him actually at my very, very first Vicious Rumors performance at the Last Day Saloon in Santa Rosa. And it was just a really nice guy and introduced who he was. And he was like, Trauma with Cliff Burton? Because I thought everybody knew Cliff Burton was in Trauma. And so I thought that was kind of cool talking to Donnie. And then I met him again somewhere, I don't know if it was San Jose or something. Just a really nice guy. I didn't get to have a lengthy conversation with him, but I knew who he was,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy, to say the least.
It's excellent. Yeah, I'm glad that you've carried on in his honour. At least you're, hilling the flag for Trauma.
Maybe at the Alcatraz Festival right before we play Scratch and Scream, maybe we might say something like, "This is for Donnie."
Yeah. Yeah, I would. That'd be pretty cool. Well, I hope it goes really well for the Alcatraz concert.
Yeah, we all do too.
Before we talk about the new album, I'm going to ask you, I never asked you this, who came up with the name Trauma? What other names did you have?
I'm not the right guy to ask. Like I said, I joined the band all those years ago, and I'm pretty sure it was, I think it probably was, the name probably came through Donnie Hillier and Mike Overton, who came up with the name.
Okay, thanks for that. So we're going to talk about the new album that's coming out on Massacre Records very soon. It's called Awakening. So tell me about the title. Who came up with the title?
Oof.
Right, Steve.
Not me.
There were some, a lot of things thrown around, and I think, I don't know. It was one of those things where this one sounds great, this one looks good, and a lot of it is, I think, came from our downtime during COVID. Obviously, we started to write this record before COVID, and then COVID happened, and then we lost Donnie. And I think like Chris said previously, there was a time when we weren't sure we were going to keep doing this, and I think it really reflects how we did acquire an amazing singer in Brian, and it is kind of an awakening, a rebirth of Trauma, coming out with a lot of different kind of sounds. The singer is the heartbeat of the band, and you write around the singer.
Yeah, well, this guy here sucks.
We all knew that. See, I'm not going to say that on camera. Yeah. I'll say it to his face off camera, but I won't say that.
We love you, Brian. I'm only joking.
It's just fine. Steve tells me how shitty I am all the time. He's very uplifting.
All the time. We got to take that ego level and tone it down.
He's definitely not parsimonious with his opinions.
So the title of the album Awakening just came because of the situation with you guys and the COVID situation as well.
I think so.
Yeah. It seemed to fit pretty good.
Okay, then. So
I wanted to join the band just because I was like, who could say they've been in a band with that Cliff Burton was in?
True.
I was like, that's cool. I'm in a band with that Cliff Burton was in.
Yeah, well, try getting called up to play bass. Play an instrument you're not really familiar with. Learning, I don't know what it was, 14, 15 songs. What did I have, Chris? A couple of weeks to learn all those songs.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And they go over there with the idea of, here's the new bass player that took Cliff Burton's spot. Yeah, no pressure there.
You actually did really good, man.
I try real hard.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. So, I mean, the album cover, who did the artwork for this album? And did you have any other ideas for the artwork?
That was from Johannes at Dangerous Age. He's done boatloads of artwork for all kinds of bands. And he was really interested in doing this because he knew of the band and the history. And our manager actually hooked us up with him to do it. So that's who did it.
So what artwork that this guy's done before attracted you to go, oh wow, this is a great album?
You know, he's done like Fate's Warning. You know, oh God, who else, man? God, there's so many freaking bands. The best thing to do would be to go on his website at dangerousage.com and look at his artwork, because he also makes these like prints that he sells for like, you know, 5 digits. So, you know, he's a pretty well-known artist, and he used to make record covers when he worked at, I think it was Columbia Records in the 80s. One of the other artists, believe it or not, was Giger, that did all the Alien stuff.
Oh, Geiger.
Wow. Yeah,
Is it Giger or Geiger?
Geiger, I think. Giger. Yeah, see how you pronounce
Giger. I remember I went to the dudes. They got a freaking Geiger, whatever. The Giger, HR Giger. That's what it is called. He has some kind of castle in Switzerland, and I went to that one time. You ever hear of that place?
No, I know that the guys from the Celtic Frost are big friends with him. Tom G. Warrior.
Yeah, they got this freaking castle.
Yeah.
And you walk inside this castle, and in the freaking artwork is just like, where the hell am I? You know, but it's all this alien stuff. It's really cool.
Wow. So how does the artwork reflect in the album?
Well, I mean, really quick. One of my regrets in life. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh. One of your regrets
is giving this to my son.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I can't make out what that is.
It's H.R. Geiger. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same guitar it's the same guitar I think that Tom G. Warrior plays out of Triptychon Celtic Frost. I think he's got the same one.
Triptychon.
My bad.
Anyway, man, Jason, what was your question again?
The question was, how does the artwork reflect with the album?
Yeah, I think it was like I think it molded pretty well with everything. You know, it's kind of like The Awakening, and then you got this like creature that we're still trying to come up with like a nickname for, you know. And then, you know, some of the titles of the songs, you know, I don't know, it seemed to work for me.
If I come up with for an artist title for that creature, I'll let you know, because like Iron Maiden's got Eddie, you know. So if I can think of anything, I'll let you know. We can probably work it out or something. So I mean the album. How long did it take to record this new album?
I mean from demos to finish. I mean,
yeah.
You know, we were I mean, writing it before COVID. You know, and then obviously, you know, COVID hit, and then we couldn't get together as a band. We couldn't really do much. We couldn't work and get in the studio. All we could do was sit in our own rooms, our personal studios. Send tracks here, send tracks there. Here, check this out. And then again, partway through that, we lost Donnie, and so that all those things combined made it a very, very long process. And I could point out specific songs that were written, you know, with Donnie in mind, and then songs specifically that were written with Brian, because all the songs weren't necessarily written yet. And you know, when I sat down to write, I write based on, you know, the singer. You know, I know I was chastised a little bit by Chris for, dude, you got to write heavier, and I love heavy. I mean, my playlist is Whitechapel, it's Jira. I love heavy. But Donnie, you know, great singer, isn't that kind of singer. So I would write melodies and stuff. But then when we get Brian, here's a guy that sings really, really heavy, and I was able to write heavier. and faster and more thrash, more metal. And that changed the dynamic a little bit. It still is cohesive. All the songs are still cohesive, but you could probably pick out which ones were written before and after Brian.
Right, yeah. So it's quite a long time to record the album. Then
years.
I mean, it's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah, but there's one of the songs that, because I got a lot of demos from Chris that had Donnie's voice on it. You know, like I believe it was River Red, End of
Falling
Everything, and Meat specifically, which I love that. See, Joe wrote that one. Joe Fraulob, who was in Danzig, he wrote Meat, and I'm listening to it, and Joe's like, "Oh, I don't know if I like it." You know, I go, it needs to be changed. I go, no, I hear something in it. And I was like, let's just leave it the way it is. I got an idea. And then when we were in the studio, it just all came together, and we're just, and Meat was just firing on all cylinders. And it happens to be probably one of my favorite tracks off that record. But when I was listening to the demo a lot with Donnie, I could hear, like, in the chorus, I was like, oh my God. And I was like, wonder what it sounded like with Donnie and I singing together. So I asked Juan, I go, can you take Donnie from the demo and blend him in with me for the chorus? And you know, Juan figured it out, and it's really cool. So I don't think anyone knows about that, but I think it's going to come out really cool, you know, hearing Donnie and I singing together.
Excellent. So I mean, the songs on the album, it's a very heavy album. For me, it kind of reminds me of thrash meets power metal, so I'd say like power thrash. Would you say that's your style of music, power thrash?
That's pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, so what songs off the new album are your favourites and why? Because there's some really heavy songs, like you said, Brian, Meat's a really heavy song. And the production's excellent. It's sort of like, wow, you know, it sort of hits you in the face, and that's what you want when you've got powerful music. You can't have a suck production.
They're all really good. I really like Falling Down a lot because Steve had me do some cool, like, Chuck Billy screams mixed in with some Halford screams with my mid-range. And then River Red is really cool because it's kind of really melodic. And Death of an Angel is really cool, which don't get me started on that song because I'm not happy with what happened with the video because we were told we couldn't use certain footage on that video, which kind of made me mad because Steve's wife is insane and she is obsessed with serial killers. So she wrote all the lyrics for that. She wrote a lot of the lyrics for that album, I think, didn't she, Steve?
Yeah, 4 songs, yeah.
Yeah, she's probably got a bunch of bodies buried in the back of his yard. And
just not me yet.
She's obsessed with these serial killers. And then, so I'm reading the lyrics. I was like, oh my God. And it's all about Ted Bundy and all this stuff. I was like, this guy's sick. And I'm like, you guys are twisted, man.
Yeah, so the original video cut had a bunch of clips of Ted Bundy, some of the, elements of the documentaries around Ted Bundy. And Massacre Records decided that there's too much copywritten footage, and they didn't want to deal with any of that, so they yanked it
Bullshit.
all. They yanked all of the Ted Bundy footage, and the song is written first person. Ted Bundy, she wrote it first person. She's whacked out.
Wow.
They had to remove all.
She's
of
a
that.
hell of a lyricist, though. She's really good.
Yeah, she's really good.
Did you think it might have offended some of the American population with it being like an American mass murderer?
That was the point, and really that was the point.
Who cares?
I wanted to offend, right? I wanted that because
that's what Americans like to do.
That will sell spins. That will sell spins on YouTube, and but I think the majority of it was the copyright issues. I don't think it.
But Mike Sloat, who did the video, who recorded it, hired some actors and made it look like there's some Ted Bundy
good.
stuff in it.
I'm
he did a really good job.
I'm not unhappy.
He did a good job.
It's going to be fine.
Okay, then. So, I mean, like you said, the album was done by, is it Juan, did you say? The album was produced by?
Juan Tiaga.
Yeah, who's he worked with prior to working with you guys?
VR, Vicious Rumors.
Right.
Testament. Ted Nugent.
Machine Head.
Night Ranger, Heathen, Hatred, I think he's done stuff for.
Yeah.
A bunch of bands, Skin Lab, you name it. He's done all kinds of stuff, especially in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Wow, excellent. Are you happy with the way the album's turned out, guys?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anything could have been made better? Or are you happy with the complete way it's just?
I think it's probably going to be my favorite record next to my stoner rock band Two-Headed Beast. That was definitely my favorite recording. This is going to be my 10th album, and I'm really happy with it.
I think personally for me, having Brian come in late and being able to write heavier music, I'm a little disappointed. Not disappointed, but I'm looking forward to writing another record and even a heavier record. I like to keep the melodic elements in it. I love harmonies, vocal harmonies and melodies, but
I like the power metal aspect.
I want to write a heavier record.
Okay, then. So, what's your favourite songs, guys, from this album individually? We'll start with you, Chris. What's your favourite songs off the new album?
Oh God. Let's see. I pretty much like all of it. It was all recorded at a time where, like Steve said, we were all going through the whole COVID thing, and we had to deal with the death of a really dear friend and the vocalist of Trauma, and a lot of these tunes, kind of for the first time for myself, it wasn't like going in the studio just going, oh, I'm just going to play this stuff and, just get through it as quickly as possible. I mean, I had moments when I was laying down the drum tracks, just kind of like surreal in a sense, because I had an idea in my mind of what these tunes can end up sounding like, and I know there was so much work put into writing the tracks from Steve and Joe that it was very well thought out. So to be honest with you, I don't really have a personal absolute favorite of the track because I really like them all. I'm really a fan of the tune Meat, Falling Down, End of Everything, Walk Away, that song Burn, just like I said, pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I think we all agree that Meat's a kick-ass song, even myself.
It's fun to play live. It's more like punk to play live.
Okay.
It's just a cool
really
song.
enjoy
And I love the lyrics. The lyrics, those are Donnie. There's a lot of songs on there is Donnie's lyrics.
Yeah.
And I think he had an idea of kind of correlating how humans are all just meat and kind of correlating it with like the Holocaust and a bunch of different things and animals and it was just, I don't know, I think it's a cool song. At first I was like, what is this? But it just grew on me. And I was just like, oh my God, I got ideas for this. And so I was really excited to attack that song when I first got in the studio. But Steve goes, no, we're going to do Death of an Angel. And then I fell in love with that song, except for I thought Rochelle needed therapy,
So are you going to do any more videos for this album? I guess you'll be doing another video.
Yeah, but another one in the can. So we got Walk Away coming out tomorrow, and then
Rochelle's song,
Death of the Angels. It's that one's coming out next. That's in the can. That's finished. And then we did Meat, which needs to be edited.
Excellent. So the deal with Massacre Records. What other record companies did you approach prior to signing with Massacre?
Say again?
What labels did you think of signing with prior to signing with Massacre Records? Which other labels did you approach?
That kind of went through our management. The reason, we were talking to quite a few of them, I would say, but Massacre showed a lot of enthusiasm for the band. The owner, his name's Thomas, and they actually, they're distributed through Believe out of Paris, France, and that company actually bought Nuclear Blast. So it's, to be honest with you, it's in this day and age, it's kind of like you want to get with someone who likes the band and is really into your music and all that. The days of like in the 80s of going, oh my God, hopefully we could get a deal with Warner Brothers or Atlantic or,
sign a $250,000 deal,
Yeah, it kind of doesn't to a certain point matter anymore. It you know, as crazy as that sounds, as long as they're an established label, which they are, you know, there was probably maybe 3 or 4 other ones we could have went with, but
I just hope they promote it. That's all I care.
it seemed to be a good fit, you know, and we're hoping, just like Brian said, you know, I'm just really hoping that they do what they said they're going to do.
Yeah, well, you're going to get a good review off me, so that'll be coming next week. Don't worry. It's going to listen to it. I'm going to listen to it.
You live now.
I know where you live as well, Brian.
Let me ask you this question. Let me interview you for a second. What do you think of the record?
I think it's a really kick-ass album. I think the production's really good and solid. It makes the songs stand out a lot better. And like I said to you before, I think it's a cross between power metal and thrash. I'm going to call it power thrash.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a great.
It's definitely not thrash, and it's definitely not power metal. It's combined too, so it's got the heaviness of the thrash, but it's got the power metal elements, melodic, and the vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I like about it is you can totally tell we're Bay Area. You know, it's got the Bay Area thumbprint all over it.
Right. So on this album, did you have any special guests on this album, or was you thinking of having any special guests joining you?
Yeah, no, it was, again, you know, COVID. I mean, all these things with COVID and being able to bring people in the studio, and you know, yeah, we've got a lot of friends and family in the business that are high end guys, but I think there were some ideas to do a cover song or two with some of our Bay Area people, but I think it came down to, you know, time, getting things done, and yeah, this one we didn't have anybody come in on this one.
Just me.
Okay, so I mean, I was talking to you yesterday, Chris, and he said that Mike Spencer's helping you out at the minute on bass. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what's happening there then? How come he's in joining, just helping you guys out? Is Greg okay?
Yeah, he basically, our bass player Greg, it seems like, to be honest, he is doing, his own solo kind of stuff at the moment. And it seemed like he wanted to take a break, which that's fine. So to cover our butts with this, I gave Michael Spencer a call, and he was, happy to hear that, we had this festival date to do, and he wanted to take part in it. And Brian's known him for a long time too, and same with Joe Frolov. And
Michael Spencer's one of those guys I fell in love with, a while ago.
He is a really cool guy.
Yeah, I met him in London when he was playing bass guitar for Flotsam and Jetsam, a nice guy. But we spoke about his old band, Sentinel Beast, and not many people know about his old band, and he was kind of impressed that I knew his old band.
It means a lot. That means a lot, because I remember my first tour with Vicious Rumors, and I had people coming up to me with Last Empire CDs for me to sign. I'm like, how the hell do you guys know about this? And they kept going up to Jeff Thorpe. Oh, you're very lucky to have Brian Allen from Last Empire singing with you. And it was so funny because Jeff used to always flick me shit. Well, now you're in a real metal band. And I'm like going, yeah, fuck you, dude. This is Last Empire. We're very fortunate. It was pretty funny. It's like makes you feel good.
So, I mean, you're playing this Alcatraz festival very shortly, aren't you? Coming over to Belgium. How excited are you to be playing this festival? Are you doing any more festivals while you're in Europe?
No, to answer your question, we're not. We wish we were. In May we had a whole tour booked as a support act for Ross the Boss throughout Europe, but it got canceled and it's now postponed. Excuse me. It looks like it might happen in 2023, but we're eager to play. Hopefully we can get on a tour over there soon.
So you're just going over to Europe just for the one show, then flying back to the States?
Pretty much.
We're doing a couple shows.
Just a couple of warm-up shows before the festival, I presume.
Yeah, we're playing at the Little Devil in Tilburg.
Okay.
And it's a smaller club, but a lot of metal bands play there. It's kind of one of those smaller clubs, but it's got that whole warm feeling, and everyone's played it. From Death Angel, Flotsam, I'm not sure if Testament's ever played there because it's tiny. It's tiny, but it's fun. You know, it's a nice home field advantage because it feels like, you know, of all the years that I've, you know, played throughout, you know, the Netherlands, it's like, you know, playing in your home field.
Right then, so you guys are doing this little tour. I mean, how well has the album been received by the press so far for the new album? Have you been getting positive reviews?
It's too soon yet.
Yeah, it's kind of soon.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to get some really good positive? Because, like I said, I'm going to give it a good write-up anyway, so I presume other people are going to like it as much as I am.
I
sure
hope
so.
So how do you see this new album as a progression from the previous albums? How far do you think you progressed in the last couple of albums? Because, I mean, the first album's really, really, really old, isn't it? So, like, the last two albums are more modern, like it is now with the new album.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I thought, personally speaking, As the World Dies it is still a really good album. I just think this one, you know, it had the COVID thing going on, and I hate to keep saying that, but it was like I kept pushing, you know, especially Steve, you know, come up with heavier, play.
I got a story about that.
Heavier.
I got a story about that, right? So
hey, real quick before you guys get into that, just a quick question, Jay.
Yeah.
My phone's gonna die. Can I plug it in? I don't know how bad. If it's gonna be echoing, I'm gonna have to drop off.
All right, brother.
Try it.
What's that?
Plug it in.
Okay. See how bad it is. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Fine.
You can?
Yeah.
It's funny because I can't really hear. Maybe I'm having muted. No. It's like there we go. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So, Steve, you was going to say you had a story to tell.
so you know, so when I'm writing, I write on Pro Tools, and I write all the elements, right? I write the drums, I write everything. It's sent out as a complete song. And so some of the early songs I sent had a lot of melody and stuff. I had more like, you know, power metal kind of stuff, you know, with sing-songy lyrics. We had Donnie as a singer, and so Chris would come back and say, "Dude, it's not heavy enough. You gotta write heavier, write faster, right?" And so I got on. So I wrote this song. I wrote, I think it was either Walk Away. I think it was Walk Away. And I wrote the drums, right, that were just insanely difficult to play, right? I just writing blast beats and crazy shit and fills and stuff. And I said, basically, here, motherfucker, play this, right? We go in the studio for the first sessions, and I mean, credit to Chris's work ethic. He had this shit freaking down and killed it in the recordings. And I was just like, fuck, I give up. It was just seriously amazing. Amazing drumming on that album.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I'd like to thank you guys for taking your time out and doing this interview for Friday 13th. I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a good time in Belgium. But do you have anything to say to the people watching this on YouTube?
Yeah, rock out, man. Metal.
Buy the record.
Metal forever.
Chris?
Yeah.
Buy it. Buy the damn record.
Thanks for watching all of us, and you know, thanks for your support. You know, hope you dig the new album.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. So hopefully we'll get to meet one day, and Brian, you owe me a drink.
I'll buy you two.
Exactly.
Yeah?
That's three.
Okay, thank you. So guys, have a good evening or good afternoon wherever you are, and keep in touch, and we'll speak very soon.
Well,
cheers guys, stay metal. Cheers. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.